Der er opptaket startet. Ja, men da starter jeg med å ønske velkommen til denne norske offentlige undervisningen fra Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute, hvor vi skal gå gjennom nyheter fra offentlig engelsk workshop, Knowledge Seeker Workshop nummer 160, fra forrige torsdag, hvor det også er en del spennende ting. Så er det en liten videosnutt som er en liten gjennomgang av de to tidligere Kids-workshopene og litt ifra den her, som vi skal gå gjennom i dag. Og etter den snutten så er det da gjennomgangen av denne her Kids-workshop nummer 3 fra 22. oktober 2014. Host og budbringer er Willy Østli, og co-host og budbringer Eva Krarup. Så tenker jeg vi skal
You are people listening from every corner of this planet. No knowledge has been dispersed so beautifully, so balanced across the planet, of this planet ever, maybe in the universe. You have the full potential of achieving everything in the universe. There is no need and there is no reason for man not to achieve. So, wherever you are, the way I taught you to make the coils double coil inside, you have continuous equal gravitational magnetic field, and if you put CO2 on it, and you put zinc on it, you have connected the emotion of the man to it on a stable condition, and you'll find out you become a very peaceful man. Here, instead of having galaxies and universes and creating connection magnetically, we have used the matter state gravitational magnetic field strength to dominate and dictate the shape of the plasma. The nano-technology, the nano-material which you have collectively developed in different ways, by caustic, by electric currents, by whatever, fire or whatever, has that advantage that the matter, the nano and the plasma is all the same. So connection is very solid, it's very strong. The power of the plasma technology, the way we have thought, is beyond imagination of the man. Now you can create and control the plasma, which is the mother of the creation of the universe. You are given the seed of the essence of the creation. The foundation does not belong to no one and is not made of one anymore. You are developing it, you are structuring it, and from today we will be still the same. We'll still develop the technology in different names, in different colors, in different nationalities which they do not exist. it is beautiful when we see the Christian, the Muslims, the Jews, and every other belief are working together to build up systems. We have already become one faith. We already have become one nation, and we already become one planet. You got to remember one thing. Dates is irrelevant. Today is the last day of the Christian calendar, or tomorrow is the beginning of another. One day is connected to another. We don't stop. We are working around the clock. The Keshe Foundation team is working irrespective of time, position, religion, country. And now we achieve what we set out for.
The Keshe Foundation is extending an invitation to medical doctors of any practice and speciality to apply to the Foundation's private weekly medical teaching workshop. This includes medical doctors, dentists, and veterinarians. Scientists of the Keshe Foundation developed different types of plasma therapies and cures that utilize advanced, non-invasive plasma technology. The weekly private medical teaching workshop educates doctors to the plasma science behind the therapies, along with the functionality and operation of revolutionary plasma medical devices. The goal of the private teachings is to add plasma health knowledge to the profound knowledge of medical doctors. The weekly class is broadcast live over the internet through a secure private channel every Wednesday from 2 to 5 p.m. Central European Time. Presently, the class is only offered in English. However, you are free to bring a translator to the class. If you can't participate in the live broadcast, you can watch them later at your convenience through a private internet portal. Every patient's case that is discussed in the workshop will be kept anonymous and private. This includes cataloged findings and data gained from the analysis of the patient's health issues. Any medical doctor in the world who wants to participate can do so by sending an email to doctors@spaceshipinstitute.org. In your email, please state your willingness to participate in the medical teaching workshop. If you're planning on bringing a translator to the workshop, please state this in your email as well. After we receive your email, we will contact you with the instructions on how to apply to the workshop. As a part of the application process, applicants who apply, including any translators brought into the workshop, will be required to sign the Keshe Foundation's World Peace Treaty, which can be found at the following web address. All applicants will be required to provide proof of their education and ability to practice medicine, and will also be required to pass an extensive security background check before they are granted access to the teaching workshop. Healthful plasma technology is here, now, the use of which is increasing exponentially on a day-to-day basis on every continent. We encourage you to come and learn about this revolutionary technology. Apply today. Are you ready for a cost-effective, successfully proven innovation in pain relief? You need wait no longer. Introducing the Keshe Pain Pad. Using plasma technology, which is based on magnetic gravitational field interaction, the Keshe Pain Pad emits plasma fields that penetrate up to 3 centimeters below the skin, helping to bring the body back to balance. The Keshe Pain Pad offers a natural way to relieve acute and chronic pain for both young and old. All you have to do is apply the pad on affected areas for 1 or 2 hours once or twice a day. It's made with adaptive elastics that conform organically and comfortably to the contours of your body. It has no moving parts or batteries. It's lightweight, durable, easy to wear, and easy to remove. The Keshe Pain Pad successfully reduces muscular pain, tendinitis, wrist pain, carpal tunnel syndrome, back pain, pain from sprains and strains, and knee pain, just to name a few. For a full list of relievable pains, consult the owner's manual or go to our website at www.keshefoundation.org. The Keshe Pain Pad, a cost-effective, successfully proven, natural way to relieve your pain.
Ja, da tenker jeg vi bare starter nyhetene, så vi kommer i gang. Eller er det noen som har noe de vil si først? Nej.
Jeg kan tilføje, at Flint annoncerer i slutningen af dagens undervisning, at der vil komme nogle annonceringer i morgen på den offentlige undervisning.
Ja, men det tenker jeg. Ja, jeg vet ikke om det offentliggjort ennå. Det bare det.
Altså, Flint sagde, at vi skulle sørge for at se den.
Ja, men da vet i hvert fall de som her det.
Ja.
Så, yes. Nei, men det kanskje greit å følge med litt. Det en del spennende ting i dag på nyhetene. Det handler ikke så mye om det har vært tidligere. Så jeg kan bare anbefale å henge på. Ja, og så det jo det der med auto-oversetting da. Den auto-oversatt til norsk. Og fremdeles så søker vi etter mennesker som har lyst til å forstå litt mer, og gjerne kan bli med på å enten transcribe det til engelsk, altså skrive teksten på engelsk, eller når vi har gjort det, skrive den over fra engelsk til norsk. Det bare å kontakte Keshe Foundation sentralt, tekstteamet, eller oss. Jeg vet ikke om Eva snill og setter ut adressene på chatten mens vi kjører.
Jeg skal finne og sette den ut på chatten.
Ja, så da kan jo dere skrive det ned hvis dere har lyst til å være med på det. Så setter vi bare i gang.
Yes, good morning, good day to you. As usual, whenever you listen to these knowledge programs. Thank you very much, Rick. Today, as usual, we carry on with teaching, and we further try to expand our horizon of knowledge and being enlightened, that we can achieve more in so many ways in different aspects of the development of the technology. As usually, we make some comment on what is getting developed and what is going on around the technology. At this moment of time, due to the way the technology is working and is expanding, is that we have come with the authorities to the point that we have to bring standards into the structure of the plasma. What this means is the scientists at governmental level and scientists at institutional level have start understanding the process. They have started comprehending the changes that this technology is bringing. They have started putting the materials and the conditions these materials produce into test and seeing the results very rapidly. Now, as usual, as is their job, they're asking, what's next? We have to develop a standard for this. So we are working now with governmental institutes, and in a coming time we'll ask for a lot of help from you knowledge seekers who are expert in these kind of things, or you have seen a way of doing it in an easier way, to collaborate with Keshe Foundation Ghana. And then it goes with a standardization of finding new systems, new ways to measure what we have developed. What this means is that we have developed the GANs, we have developed nanomaterials, we have developed the interaction of plasma, liquid plasma, what we call the water, which has no traces of the GANs in it, but carries all the property of the material which is used. So now we have come to redefine a lot of understanding about the technology. What we had to do in the past few weeks, working with scientists at the governmental level to bring the situation under the understanding of the totality when we call a measurement what it is, we had to explain a lot of things in a new way, which gradually will filter down and people will understand. We call the GANs production of the liquid plasma. How do we create it? What does it do? How is it achieved? For example, if you put a cup of GANs and then put water on it, mix it with the water. We all have seen it. The water moves up and the GANs settles. What does it do? How does this happen? Why do we get like the material of the GANs at the bottom? And what happens to the water? In fact, if you look at it, it's a filtering system. We are used to the filtering by water going through the filter and come out the other way clean. But with the GANs, because of its property, it's totally opposite. You can put the GANs on the top, and as the water goes through, it filters the water. So the GANs process for production of the liquid plasma, we call it the filtering now because it's easier way. When the water goes through, this layer is not solid, it's not like you put a chalk and calcium or whatever in the solid filters now. You get now a mixture of the GANs filter. This has changed a lot of understanding for the scientist. It's a filtering process. And in that filtering process, it goes through bacteria change as much as anything else which could be in the water. Now we are learning more and more about this filtering. And now we can quantify it. We have to start quantifying it. We've seen the American company who took the GANs of gold as a nanostructure, and we saw it in presentation months ago, how they have mixed the solid GANs of gold in other sediments as a layer of filtering. So we created a new system. We have created a liquid filtering, or what we call in a state of non-solid state. This has given us a new way, easier to be able to explain the process to the scientist. Now this has pushed us to the next level. What we saw in TEPCO in situation with the testing and then implementation of it was the scientists in TEPCO came up, we cannot measure, this thing keeps on going, the more water we get from it, the lower it goes. So we have done with TEPCO 2 years ago to dry the GANs. So now we can use a dry GANs as a filter. You can literally put it there as a filter. But now we can measure it. So many milligram of GANs has such a strength, has such a properties. The other thing now we are facing with the scientists is, for the first time, we have to explain the strength of our GANs in a totally different way. In a totally different way than we are used to. I was just explaining before we start. We have to start explaining GANs in a three-dimensional property matter, which never been done before. It becomes a three-dimensional entity at such a point, with such a gravitational strength, and with such a magnetical strength, in such a position in the space of the plasma. This behavior is, let's say, characteristics of hydrogen. At the same time, we change another parameter, is the property of what we call determining what other element is in the vicinity of the hydrogen, that it gives this representation. Very much what now we look is the expansion into knowledge of the space technology. In the present time, we call it GPS positioning. But if you look at the aircraft industry, the air tunnels, they give you position, altitude, the height, in 3 dimensions, where we know exactly where the aircraft, in what position on Earth, at what height. This has become necessary to be adopted for the plasma technology. But if we look into understanding of this, this allows us to map up the universe, to map up the strength in galaxies, to map up positions within the solar system. The way we say, I'll meet you at such a service station on a motorway from that city to that city, now we should be able to map up position in the solar system that we can meet. Considering that we understand the magnetic field, gravitational field positioning, the motion of the fields, the motion of the plasma of the solar system, and the rest of it. This is where now we've been asked to work within the governmental structure, within the scientific organization, to bring a standard, to bring understanding that we can quantify. How much GANs do we need for such a job? Can we replace it with such a strength from copper instead of zinc, that we get approximately the same? We are talking now to understand the level of the absorption, how much of it gets absorbed and what it does when it moves on. What it changes the position of the strength after giving. It goes, for example, from what our body does. It takes cobalt, it gets other materials, it gets cesium, it goes through the body. When it gives its radiation and it becomes non-usable, the body has made itself a measurement tool that the radioactive material in the body of this element is not strong enough to be absorbed by the body or has any effect in its operation. So the body rejects it to go out, that there is a place for a new one. So the knowledge we need to learn is what our body does already. We have a point of reference. How does body measure that radioactive material in our limbs in our what we call substations of the brain, the glands, decide that is not effective anymore, that it needs replacement. So the body has built a measurement system for itself. We never knew these. Now we know. Now we have to understand how we can develop technologies that we see the effectiveness level of any material that gives us an after as is a radiating material and absorbing. After this level, it cannot behave like, let's say, copper. So automatically we have to find a way to replace it. It's more or less what we call sale by date. We call it sale or change by the strength. These are the new challenges, which now that we have come to legal registration of the different materials is baffling the scientists. In a very short time, we will call for world scientists to gather in Accra to start standardizing. Because all of you are producing these gases, you are applying it for different applications, but we have no measure. Do you need 1 spoon of sugar or 2? How much sweeter you want it? The process is very rapid. Now that the legal frame and organizations around the world are getting to understand with our work with the organizations, scientific organizations, standardizing organizations in Ghana has started. We see other governments coming in because they're getting used in their country. In the next 6-12 months, you will see a massive move in standardizing. We have had a meeting in the past few weeks with number of scientists, 10, 15, a group from different legislation part, that understanding is that we have to do something with it now. So what we need is from all of you who've been around, or you work, or you see, to come up with different measurements and how you see one thing can be measured to copper or can be confirmed to be CO2. This has become essential because this way, for example, I can sell a water from a tap and say it's a CO2, and I can sell a water from the tap, putting through the filtering system, what we call a plasma liquid, and tell you this is the CO2. We are looking now in organizations to bring a system. It'll take months, take years, it won't be tomorrow. Where, for example, in the house you buy water, which is, let's say, it's a gas of CO2 or zinc, or your label is washed off, you don't know what it is. You can put your bottle in the machine and it tells you this is what it is. These are the realities we are facing now that we're becoming nationally and internationally organized to develop technologies. As I said, in the coming years, there will be more people employed because of this technology than man could ever imagine. We are facing it. Now, it's an everyday situation for us that it's not the technology is rejected, we have to resist it or whatever. Now it's on the table, people are using it, we see the change, let's measure it. Let's bring some sort of standardization worldwide. In the coming weeks, FDA worldwide will gather in Ghana. It's something we have to do it, and it's getting slowly planned. Standardization by the standards boards around the world is organized, getting organized. They are calling people, scientists in, let's measure, let's do something with it now. The point is, we have a product on the table. We have a number of products on the table. We see the results, we see the outcome, we see the positiveness of the use, how we're going to measure it. So the step for us now has become, as a new technology, we need new measurements, new tools. A 3-dimensional, maybe a 6-dimensional. The way we do in nuclear reactors, we work on 8 dimensions. when I used to work as a nuclear physicist in design of the nuclear reactors, we used to work in 8 dimensions sometimes. The heat comes into it, the pressure comes into it, the transfer of field from the others comes into it. These are all variables. Now, after 30 years, I'm facing with the same situation with the plasma technology. Because I understand it, I can see how this can be done. We got the situation now with a flight test in Arizona. In Arizona, now they can increase and decrease directionally the field span. How do we measure it? How do we expand it that one side takes pressure and the other side creates a shielding? John is on the line and he's awake. Maybe he can show us. It's the latest test they've done. For the first time, we see the property of electron and a proton done in a very open way. Do you see John in the background?
Don't see him right now. Anybody else have any information on that?
No, it's just a private video. Well, I'll bring it up. We can share it. It's on the emails. Let me see if we can show it. Just 1 second. What this is, I'll try to find it while I'm talking with you, that you will see it for the first time. We come to what we said. In the direction of the motion, we need to decide which way we are going. In the production of the energies, we see how materials move, how we can produce material out of fresh air. These are the things now in laboratories we are facing. What I'm going to do, Rick, I'm going to send it to you on your, what do you call it, on the Zoom account. You can download it and you can show it. You will see an interesting effect. And this is important. Now, how much field do we, how do we measure in what fields are applied in which way? These are the problems, or these are the joys of new space technology. We are forced to now, by governmental institutes, to quantify the measurements. This is what they expect, that we can understand what's the next step. How far the next steps affect us in which way. For the first time in the test, you see is that the material has become itself part of the innovation of its own technology in understanding itself. We have to understand. We have no choice. Rick is on your Zoom account. Can you see it?
Yes, just getting it lined up here.
Yeah, just open it to see it's the one. You'll see it, that they move to the one side, the field has expanded to like 16, 18, where on the other side it stays as 12. If you go back into the teaching of 2 or 3 years ago, this is what we explained. You expand, you extend your field in the direction of flow. Then you can increase it by strength, that you create a stronger shield in the direction of flow. This is what we have to learn. This is how we have to standardize. This is what is becoming part of interaction of the work. Governments ask us to do. Now they have nowhere to go. We have become the organizers and the teachers and the developers of everything in the technology. Can you play it? Then we'll see it.
Yes, just a second here. Get it lined up in the live stream properly. And there we go. Okay.
You got it?
I'm going to put the zapper on. Watch what happens to the fields. Go ahead, David. So what we've done is we've isolated this side of the maggraph unit with these wires coming over here. You see the wires? So now what's happened is this particular motor is stronger than all the rest of the motors, and the fields normally come out to right about here, the 12-foot mark. But now when David does his zapper, this side comes way back to the wall. Comes another 12 feet back to the wall. But it doesn't come out the rest on the other side. It doesn't have the antenna. This side over here that doesn't have the antenna comes out right about 16 feet where we were before. But on that side, dramatically stronger. Okay.
Now what you see is that you can close the screen, please. So what you see now, we see the behavior of an electron. Here, the field, the plasma field was increased in one direction, so the connection of the field expands in that direction. Doubles. In the dynamic systems, which is getting developed, now you don't need that electron in that way. You use the maglev systems in the direction of the flow to increase the energy, that you expand the strength on that direction. All it needs measurement. All these need to know how much we increase it, how much field strength is needed. How do we measure the field strength of the environment we are going into, that we can create a shield to be above it, that it doesn't interact with us. Now these things become reality. Now, with the work with the Institute, we need to measure. What about if you put another GANS next to the cup of the GANS you carry? What effects it has on the water? How much does it change? What about if you mix two GANSes together? What's the effect? Or do they stay separate and each one does its job? The way our body does. We mix our food, meat, vegetables, bread. We don't eat them separately. And our body, in the process of the digestion, when it changes it to the GANS, it decides which one it takes. As we said, every entity stays on its own strength. So, we go back to the learnings we've done in the medical application. How does our body measures everything? How our body decides this is not good, the strength I need, rejects it. We do it on a daily basis. We do it every second we breathe. We breathe air in. The lung has created a condition, this is the strength I'm going to apply and accept, and the rest can be rejected. The food we eat, this is what I need. And then the level gets absorbed in the lymph. Then the cells decide, this is what I'm going to take from it, I don't need, or I'm short in division. I have to send the material back because I don't need this cesium, I have to let it go. I don't need the cobalt, I have to let it go. I don't need the iron, I have to let it go because it's not the strength I need. So, as scientists in the new plasma technology, and now that's what been asked by the Institute to come up with a measurement of what we have developed, we have to go in that way. Some of you are experts in it. Now we have to measure the tools. We have to measure, bring measurements in how these things work. Development of the new technology is not like the old days. One man comes and puts everything on the table. This is so vast that it encompasses the whole of humanity. In the coming time, we will receive inspiration and enlightenment by those who have done it already and are the passengers of the universe. But we have to make the first step. We have to show we understand, than being given the golden cup. This way we mature. And this is what is about to happen. We have started the process of maturing in Africa. But it cannot be done here alone. We faced this very recently, and coincidentally, as I say, everything comes the right time. We asked NASA some weeks ago for the collaboration for measurements of the field. As I said, instruction for HQ is do not collaborate with Keshe Foundation because they might go faster than us. So now we develop a technology that encircles NASA out of the equation. We have to do it. We got to do it because now the products are on the streets, on the markets. We have to quantify why plasma of zinc shows this effect. We faced this one 8 weeks ago in Tokyo. How come zinc creates a 5.5 hours, 6 hours conversion of the cancer cell and CO2 in 23.5 hours? What's the difference in the strength? How come and why is it? In reality, if you look, carbon is 12, zinc is around 60. Look at the conversion. Is it the principle which we said, reduce it by a factor of 20? If you reduce 5 hours, which is about 300 minutes, or if you go 6 hours, which is about 360 minutes, and then go at the carbon, which is 24 hours, roughly, multiplied by 60, you have 840. You have 60 by 360 by 840. Where is the relationship? If we go by the atomic mass weight of the plasma, plasmatic mass, what is the ratio? This is the only way we're going to start understanding out of the behavior to bring measurement of the material. We are familiar with this. We've done this with X-rays. We've done this with gamma rays. We have created a certain X-ray level, and then we've seen the damage on the cell, and we say this is what it is, that's the measurement of it. We have to go more or less on the same path again, but in a different way, understanding the flexibility of the ratio of the atomic plasmatic mass. You have 6 hours, you have 24 hours. The mass ratio between carbon and zinc is about 5 times. The time ratio is around about 4 times. If we take what we said in respect to the strength of the heavier elements by 30%, by 20% in the carbon, do we come to the 6 ratio? 1 to 6. But we see as we go higher in the mass, we become shortened in time. Is it the gravitational field which creates such an effect as absorbing more energy from the cancer cell? Or is it the effect of the magnetical field of the zinc which affects giving energy to the cancer cell that it goes through conversion. The understanding of the measurement of the field of the plasma is the next biggest challenge for human race. The understanding of the plasmatic positioning is become the next biggest challenge to man. What we understand in the interaction of the GANs field forces on this planet will teach us how to travel in deep space, how to position ourselves, how to protect ourselves, how to absorb energies from the environment, what we need to justify the absorption for our needs in deep space. The process has started. We worked so hard, all of us, for years to show the work of the GANs, what it does, what it changes, what it creates, what material it brings in. Now, as knowledge seekers, we have to quantify it for the rest of the humanity to understand it, that our future scientists can apply it and control it for every aspect of its application. Be it in agriculture, be it in health, be it in water treatment, be it in deep space, be it in anything you can imagine. In a coming time, when you can create the GANs at a level and you can measure the strength of it and you can create liquid conditions of it, that the man can enter this liquid, that the body stays intact but transparent and in a way open, that you can go inside and change a valve or remove an organ or adjust it for its damage without open heart surgery, without cutting the body. This is the future of the space technology. Now we have to apply it. We have to measure it. Intact, but being able to be intrusive. This is what we have created, is the knowledge which as knowledge seekers we have put together. We have built the first blocks. Now we have to show how these blocks can be applied and how it can be measured scientifically. Our medical team in the teachings, medical teachings are getting there. I watch some of the teachings. The doctors in that health section are getting there, but very slowly but surely they're learning as they go. We see the same with the agriculture side. Now we see on the research and development in space. In the coming time, the center of standardization for plasma technology will be in Accra. We are setting it up. 15,000 square meters of land for research development for the standardization of the plasma starts in the next few days. We need to be able and need to confirm the work measurement. It's no good anymore saying I took a GANs and it does this to me. I took a GANs and my wife has changed the cancer. Now we have to quantify it. We have to standardize it. But there is one thing, the beauty with it is, GANs cannot have side effect. Because it only takes what it needs. Because it's a natural process. So what we've seen is the certainty in security and correctness of the behavior of the GANs. How we create the conditions for the GANs to be stable in its absorption is the next challenge. What we are looking now is the next step in development of the structures. Do we need bricks and mortar to build buildings? the buildings we need to build in the future in deep space would come out of understanding of the interaction of the plasma. Where to be hard, where to be soft. We've been through this process from the time of our own inception. We are nothing but plasma. Interaction of the plasmas gives the toughness of the which muscle, and interaction of the cancer cells within the cells and divisions and control of the field decides I need a hard piece to keep it together. I call it a bone. We don't deliver bone or calcium to build in the womb of the mother. Field conditions on the preset arrangement agreement and the level measurements changes the plasma of the energy to calcium. So in a coming time, what we call cement factories and brick factories are time of the past. Because we decide, would we like a soft end of the bone, or would we like the hard end of the bone in the middle? Would we like it to be taking energy, filtering it the way the bone does, taking what we call the lymph to become bone marrow by passing through the tunnels? Now these are not anymore dreams. These are the realities that we have to create the materials for it by application of different gases. So we need the measurements. We need to understand the conditions needed to be created to give certain properties. Man will build cities in the depth of the deep space in no place where there is any planet. Because man knows how to create the condition of the material for construction of what it needs. As do many other civilizations. So this is the passage we are going. Now, the first steps have been taken. We developed it. Now we have to measure it. And once we start the measurements, then we know what it needs for what, to have what, and what we need to do to have a solid state, liquid state as a food. Yesterday we were giving lectures to veterinarians of the Accra. They organized the meeting. They called, we are coming in, we want to know, because we've seen the effect on the animals. As I said, and those of you who know, there is a disease which kills young puppies in Africa. By accident, Caroline came across one. She said, it works, I know what to do. She took the dog in, 2 siblings, 3 siblings died because of the same. And by coincidence, the dog we took in, Caroline nourished it here, a dead dog more or less, has gone back home. We didn't know where it came from. It was the love she brought to save the animal. Even if we would have created a lot of risk for our dog. The dog went back home. Then we found out the dog belongs to one of the presidents. This is just coincidental. And now the leadership, past and new, are looking at a dog that the president hold this dog. We've seen the videos, play with it now. And they understood the change because they lost the other 2. Coincidence are not pattern. World leaders themselves are getting touched by this technology. We have to put measurements, how much of the water of which we can give to the sick animal that it converts. Yesterday they came. We want it, we have no choice. We are losing our animals, we need it now. We sat with a number of them, all the private, what you call, veterinarians. They said, we don't need, we've seen the result, just tell us, explain to us how it works, that we understand, that we can teach our staff that they can feed and control and bring things back. I explained to them in a very soft way that all of us know. The animal is sick. You are used to putting something inside it. You are used to feeding it. The game has changed, if you understand. Put the gas, liquid plasma, on the body of the animal. It'll get absorbed in. I explained that we only absorb 20% of our energy from the food we eat. 80% comes from the environment. Now we change the environment of the animal on its skin. We've seen it working. To them, that's all they need to know. In today, across Accra, most of the veterinarians will be using to save animals' life. Why not in the rest of the world? They are not concerned about FDA because they've seen the results. They are not concerned about the standardization. They've seen the result. It's not just one dog. Number of dogs, puppies, life have been saved. We have pictures. They send us pictures of it. Caroline forever receives puppies dead, more or less puppies alive. The same we see with the cancer, we see with the medical teaching. Now we have to quantify it. And this is the task of Keshe Foundation supporters around the world. We've been acknowledged as a new technology. We've been acknowledged as a breakthrough in the world of science, which answers part of the things we didn't understand, not as a radical new technology, but as addition to what we knew, we added to the knowledge. This is our job. This is what today's program will teach. We ask for you to teach us, to bring forward what you've seen, what causes what, how can we measure. There are not many systems in the world that can measure plasma both in gravitational and magnetic simultaneously, and measure the change of one against the other. At the same time being able to position where this change is. The insight comes from setting up different test parameters. The insight will come from setting up in what we wanted but we didn't get, but we have achieved something else. In the set you see, we just seen from Arizona, the top reactor has started absorbing new materials to it. We got to find out what this new material is that the new condition has caused it to be done. Production of new matter out of the atmosphere. We saw this with Peter, where he tried to produce gold and he found that the testing was nickel, copper and zinc and other things. So we know we can produce matter from fresh air. We've seen it, but because we could not understand how to use it, we overlooked one of the most important, more or less teaching parts, production of the material out of fresh air, which Peter showed. We have to go back to it. Dynamic reactors are a condition of it. These are what we need to do and be able to measure that it doesn't become random. We can switch and get the same pie, the same cake, the same taste exactly every time. But this time, every time could be on Earth, it could be on Mars, it could be in deeper space. Because we dictate the environment, we create the box of the energy of the universe to create the condition we like.
Ja. Det var nyhetene, det. Mye spennende som skjer i plasmaverdenen i dag. Så kommer fortsettelsen på engelsk i morgen for de som har lyst til å følge med fra klokka 9. Jeg vet ikke om dere er klare for en liten pause før vi setter i gang med resten.
Jo, det kan jo være ganske greit.
Ja, er du snill og setter opp 5 minutters skiltet hvis du har det tilgjengelig?
Ja, 2 sekunder.
Takk. Ja, men da 5 minutter går fort, det. Da skal vi kjøre en liten videosnutt som forklarer litt om hva vi allerede har gått igjennom i de siste barneworkshopene, og litt om hva plasma egentlig er. Skal jeg forsøke å oversette det linje for linje, sånn som jeg pleier å gjøre da. Så bare gi meg beskjed hvis videoen ikke beveger seg, for det kan være jeg må gjøre en justering her.
The maximum strength sits in the center, and as the field reduces in strength,
Maksimum styrke sitter i senteret, og ettersom feltet reduseres i styrke,
at a point of the strength of the matter, it becomes the ring we see.
ved punktet av styrken fra materien blir det til den ringen du ser.
And then further on, the field carries on, it doesn't finish here.
Og så videre så fortsetter feltet, det stopper ikke der.
And it goes below submatter.
Og det går lavere enn submaterie, under submaterie.
And still in that level beyond it, there is a life which exists in its own strength. As much
Og så videre forbi det, så er det et liv utenfor der. Det eksisterer der like mye
as there is life as you go to the center.
som det er liv ettersom det går inn til senteret.
Willy,
Ja.
hva mener han med submatter?
Det er utenfor den fysiske barrieren. Det er en form for materie der som vi ikke kan se, men som er der likevel.
Takk.
Hva var det du sa for noe, Eva?
Å, det var ikke meg.
Å nei, hei. Det var noen som ville si noe? Ok. Vær så god.
Center, absolute center.
For å komme til senteret, det absolutte senter,
Is one of the impossibilities for man because
er en av umulighetene for mennesket, fordi
as much as there is a gravitational field in that point,
like mye som det er et gravitasjonsk felt i det punktet,
there is magnetical or repulsion as well.
er det magnetisk eller frastøtning også.
And depends how much you can transfer your fields to be.
Og det kommer an på hvor mye du kan forandre dine felter
Able to get from one to another or transfer one to another.
for å ha muligheten til å komme fra det ene til det andre, eller å forandre eller omforme den ene til den andre.
A plasma to us is the totality
En plasma for oss er totaliteten
of from the center to the point of the physical manifestation.
av fra senteret til punktet av den fysiske manifestasjon.
And then the fields themselves have a property of balancing or attracting or repulsion.
Og så, feltene i seg har en egenskap av balansering eller tiltrekning eller frastøtning.
What this means is
Hva dette betyr
these rings is like infinity.
disse ringene som uendelighet.
Du overlater
Det
litt
receive-
grann, da.
Ok, takk.
Give as much as they give in the three-dimensional, as much
De mottar like mye som de gir i 3 dimensjoner. Like mye
as coming out as going in.
som kommer inn, eller kommer ut, kommer inn.
Du må ta det litt grann langsommere.
In fact, the magnet is very much like this.
Faktisk, magneten veldig likt dette.
And it rotates in dimension within the structure.
Og den roterer i dimensjonen innenfor strukturen.
And the totality creates another field for itself.
Og totaliteten skaper et annet felt for seg selv.
But at the same time,
Men på samme tid,
if the field strength
hvis feltstyrken
is not there,
ikke der,
you'll find out they find a gap, they find a distance.
så vil du finne ut at de finner en avstand, de finner en distanse,
Where they can be with each other.
der de kan være med hverandre.
And in so many ways,
Og på så mange måter,
this is the simple way you can explain
dette den enkle måten dere kan forklare
the work of a plasma.
funksjonen av en plasma.
What comes out of this side
Det som kommer ut av denne siden, fra denne siden,
has to go underneath and come into it.
må gå under og komme inn i den.
That from what comes out of it, this side, which goes back in there.
Så at den som kommer ut fra denne siden, går tilbake og kommer inn i denne.
And it's like a traffic jam.
Det som en trafikkork.
And you cannot get more than a certain number of fields through.
Og du kan ikke få mer enn et visst antall felter igjennom.
And for the two magnets to be able to allow
Og for de to magnetene, for å ha muligheten til å tillate
the fields to go from one to another,
at feltene går fra den ene til den andre,
they need a specific gap.
så trenger de en spesifikk avstand.
This specific gap, you see, if I move, the other one moves.
Denne spesielle avstanden, hvis du ser jeg beveger denne, så beveger den andre seg.
This gap between the two
Denne avstanden mellom de to
is the gap which allows
avstanden som tillater
enough fields to be lost to the environment
nok felter til å bli tapt til omgivelsene
and absorbed from the environment
og absorbert av omgivelsene
that can come through the back of the other one to come up.
slik at det kan komme gjennom baksiden av den andre til å komme opp.
So, in fact, what it is,
Så faktisk, hva det er,
what goes through the north has to come out of the south.
det som kommer igjennom nord, må komme ut fra sør.
And if north cannot allow more than a certain amount to come out,
Og hvis nord ikke kan tillate mer enn en viss mengde å komme ut,
it cannot receive and it cannot accept.
så kan den ikke ta imot, og den kan ikke akseptere.
So it looks for a point that enough fields are lost in the environment
Så den ser etter et punkt der nok felter blir tapt til omgivelsene,
that the balance can go inside.
slik at balansen kan gå inn.
And that's the distance of the separation of the magnets.
Og det er distansen av separasjonen til magnetene.
This is called gravitational magnetic positioning.
Dette blir kalt gravitasjonsk magnetisk posisjonering.
Because gravity, as they gravitate towards each other,
Fordi gravitasjon, som de tiltrekker hverandre,
magnetical as much as they repulse.
og magnetisk like mye som de frastøter,
And this is the distance.
og dette er distansen.
And then when you go into the space technology,
Og så, når du kommer inn i romteknologien,
you have the possibility to increase your gap,
så øker du har muligheten til å øke avstanden,
or decrease it,
eller minske den,
and then you create a position.
og så skaper du en posisjon. På den måten skaper du en posisjon. Beklager hvis det overlappet litt, men det er et visst timelag på denne her zoomen. Men var det forståelig for alle? Skjønte dere noe av det? Eller vil dere jeg skal spille hele snutten for seg? Det tar bare 3 minutter og litt.
Ja, prøv å spille hele snutten i en go, du.
Ja. Nå har jeg liksom sagt det på norsk, så det er en ganske viktig sak. Det er alt om posisjonering av plasma i 3 minutter.
The maximum strength sits in the center, and as the field reduces in strength, at a point of the strength of the matter, it becomes the ring we see. And then further on, the field carries on, it doesn't finish here, and it goes below submatter. And still in that level beyond it, there is a life which exists in its own strength. As much as there is life as you go to the center. To get to the center, absolute center, is one of the impossibilities for man, because as much as there is a gravitational field in that point, there is magnetical or repulsion as well. And depends how much you can transfer your fields to be able to get from one to another or transfer one to another one. A plasma to us is the totality of from the center to the point of the physical manifestation. And then the fields themselves have a property of balancing or attracting or repulsion. What this means is these rings is like infinity. They receive as much as they give in the three-dimensional, as much as coming out as going in. In fact, the magnet is very much like this. And it rotates in dimension within the structure. And the totality creates another field for itself. But at the same time, if the field strength is not there, you'll find out they find a gap, they find a distance where they can be with each other. And in so many ways, this is the simple way you can explain the work of a plasma. What comes out of this side has to go underneath and come into it. That from what comes out of it, this side, which goes back in there. And it's like a traffic jam. And you cannot get more than a certain number of fields through. And for the two magnets to be able to allow the fields to go from one to another, they need a specific gap. This specific gap, you see, if I move, the other one moves. This gap between the two is the gap which allows enough fields to be lost to the environment and absorbed from the environment that can come through the back of the other one to come up. So, in fact, what it is, what goes through the north has to come out of the south. And if north cannot allow more than a certain amount to come out, it cannot receive and it cannot accept. So it looks for a point that enough fields are lost in the environment that the balance can go inside. And that's the distance of the separation of the magnets. This is called gravitational magnetic positioning, because gravity, as they gravitate towards each other, magnetical as much as they repulse. And this is the distance. And then when you go into the space technology, you have the possibility to increase your gap or decrease it, and then you create a position.
Ja, jeg vet ikke om det var noe mer forståelig, men det er noe så. Det er veldig kort fortalt det vi har gått gjennom de to foregående barneworkshopene, undervisningene.
Jeg synes den er veldig bra, den lille snutten, så den forklarer mye.
Ja, det gjør det. Og når du kjører den i ett, så ser du også hvor mye han snakker i løpet av de 3 minuttene. Så, ja, men jeg tenker vi starter så vidt opp med barneworkshop nummer 3. Fra 22. oktober 2014, og går litt videre i det grunnleggende plasma, i den grunnleggende plasmaverden. Og så må jeg vel bare si at det er en del, hva skal vi kalle det, strul på førsten der, fordi Mr. Keshe faller litt ut og inn før han får stabilitet på linja. Så jeg kommer ikke til å oversette alt småpratet linje for linje Men vi tar det litt som det kommer.
Okay, welcome everybody to the Kids Knowledge Seekers Workshop. My name is Rick Crammond. I'll be one of the co-hosts today with Kevin Devani, and we'll be talking with Mr. Keshe of the Spaceship Institute, and he'll be showing us things, the wonders of the universe brought to us with the eyes of a child, basically. And we'll continue on with what we learned last week with how things are created in the universe and how the magnetic plasma and fields interact. I think we're ready to go. Kevin, would you like to say something to add to this workshop at this point?
Advice for myself is that I learned, because Mr. Keshe said something really, really fundamentally important. He said that all is interconnected, and and I learned, how magnetic fields either repel or attract one another. Of course, I would be more curious about knowing why, but it's the beginning, so it's really hard, from a matter-based scientific perception to a non-matter, and I think that's the problem a lot of people have. This is, I think, what Mr. Keshe means when he says, people cannot accept their own existence. So, yeah, maybe we can go along those lines. But thank you very much, Mr. Keshe.
Oh, you're welcome. See if we can enlighten you a little bit further today.
Ja, det Mr. Keshe som ønsker velkommen og sier at han skal se om han kan klare å opplyse oss litt videre I dag.
Vil jeg? Ja. Og vente litt grann etter du har slått.
Ja, jeg kan vente litt til det. Han har I hvert fall mottatt noen e-poster som sier at foreldre, de voksne, lærer mer fra barna.
Receive some emails that the adults learn more from the children.
You're breaking up, Mr. Keshe. Hello?
Okay, for the folks on live stream, we seem to have a bit of a problem with the connection at the Spaceship Institute. We just lost them temporarily.
As long as Mr. Keshe is not online again, I mean, would you have a position on that, what I just said, Rick? I mean, do you agree with me with the fundamental questions that, that arise for a lot of people?
What are the questions?
Oh, hi.
Yeah, could you repeat that, Kevin?
Pretend you're lost, but you're still on planet Earth.
No, I'm expecting like a state of evolution any minute or any second right now, but and it's happening, and it's when I listen to all those workshops, not only this one but the other ones I told previously, Rick, is that it's going fast and faster. This is really what you mean probably by saying never in the history of mankind has been so much knowledge and science and technological understanding be transferred. It's amazing.
Yeah, but the thing is, your generation and my generation.
Det Kevan som synes det helt fantastisk at så mye informasjon og viten kommer ut blant allmennheten på en gang, eller så fort.
And maybe in some cases our parents' generation.
Technological understanding be transferred, it's amazing.
Yeah, but the thing is...
Da det Mr. Keshe som svarer. Ja, men saken
your generation and my generation.
Din generasjon og min generasjon.
Nå hører vi deg oppi Mr. Keshe.
Maybe in some cases our parents' generation.
Og kanskje I noen tilfeller våre foreldres generasjon.
Are the only generation in mankind who speaks about current and voltage.
Den eneste generasjonen som snakker om strøm og volt.
And all sorts of things.
Og alle typer ting.
So, if you would have spoken to our great-grandfather,
så hvis du hadde snakket med våre tippoldeforeldre,
they would have said, atom, what?
Ville de ha sagt atom, hva?
Or they would have said, no, nothing is there. It's just a...
Eller de ville ha sagt, det ikke noe der, det bare...
It's a fantasy and it's all lies.
Det bare fantasi, og det bare løgn.
Ville, du må være enda langsommere.
Ja, men da begynner vi å snakke 3-4 sekunder her, 5 kanskje også.
Ja, men her I den andre enden så snakker dere I munnen på hverandre.
Ja, jeg forstår.
Du får bare prøve deg frem, så får vi klage.
Ja.
It's our generation who has come to see more.
Det vår generasjon som har kommet til å se mere.
And understand more with the new line of communications.
Og forstå mer med en ny linje av kommunikasjon.
I've said this before. It's what we can accept according to our own understanding.
Jeg har sagt dette før. Det det vi kan akseptere I forhold til vår egen forståelse.
When I was in Tehran 5 years ago, a guy said,
Når jeg var I Teheran for 5 år siden, en type sa
that my father, when he came from Moscow about 50-60 years ago plus, at når min far, når han kom fra Moskva, cirka 50-60 år siden pluss, and he said in Russia they have a metal which flies.
Og han sa, I Russland har de metall som flyr.
And everyone said, you're crazy, this is impossible.
Og alle sa, du gæren, dette umulig.
You know, you're going mental going to Russia and coming back.
Du vet, du har blitt mentalt forstyrret ved å gå, eller ved å dra til Russland og komme tilbake.
And after couple of years,
og etter noen år,
they saw that metal bird, we call it aeroplane, appeared in Tehran.
Så de den metallfuglen, vi kaller det flymaskin, vise seg I Teheran.
So it's what we have accepted, which is the difficult part to reject.
Så det det vi har akseptert, som den vanskelige delen å frastøte seg eller motstå.
Avvise.
Avvise, takk.
Because otherwise we have to admit in our own shortcoming and not understanding the totality.
Fordi vi da må innrømme vår egen
svakhet,
ja, og ikke forstå totaliteten, eller vår manglende forståelse av totaliteten.
And this is one of the reasons we do these programs for children.
Og dette en av grunnene til at vi gjør, eller lager disse programmene for barn. Det oss da, som barna. Også de små, men også de store.
Is that we put the right seed of understanding of the creation
det at vi setter det riktige frøet for den rette forståelsen av skapelsen.
Physics, chemistry, biology.
Fysikk, kjemi og biologi.
That when they are taught other lines,
at når de tenkt andre linjer,
they become judge of the knowledge themselves.
Blir de dommerne av vitenskapen selv.
And this is the whole thing. You said to just at the beginning.
Og dette hele saken. Du sa akkurat i begynnelsen.
How the field interacts, what is gravity and what is not.
Hvordan feltene samhandler eller samarbeider. Hva gravitasjon og hva ikke.
If we look at this set of magnets,
hvis vi ser på dette settet med magneter,
these are series of magnets put together to make like a field of magnetic field.
Dette en serie magneter satt sammen for å lage et felt, et magnetisk felt.
So what happened in this thing?
Så hva skjedde i denne tingen?
One of the reasons shakes because his brother is near here, so he's trying to play with it.
Grunnen til at han rister at broren i nærheten, så han prøver å leke med den.
So what happened is that the field.
Så det som skjedde at feltene.
This looks like a elongated plasma. It's more like a ray of light, because ray of light is a plasma too.
Dette ser ut som en forlenget plasma. Det mer likt en lysstråle, fordi en lysstråle også en plasma.
So what happened? This ray of magnetic field coming out of this plasma.
Så det som skjedde, denne strålen av magnetiske felter som kommer ut fra denne plasmaen,
goes with a higher speed in the direction of the arrow, the head.
Går med en høy hastighet i retningen av pilen, eller hodet.
But as it moves, it comes in touch with other magnetic fields.
Men ettersom den beveger seg, kommer den I kontakt med andre magnetiske felter.
And in the center, there are other magnetic fields.
Og I senteret det andre magnetiske felter.
If you have two similar magnets,
Hvis du har to like magneter,
you see if the size is the right way,
du ser, hvis størrelsen deres den riktige veien, eller om den lik,
what they do, they attract each other.
Det de gjør, det at de tiltrekker hverandre.
What is this? What this attraction is?
Og hva dette? Hva denne tiltrekningen?
The attraction is like a tunnel.
Tiltrekningen som en tunnel.
You have a tunnel, and what goes in the tunnel has to come out of the tunnel.
Du har en tunnel, og det som kommer inn I tunnelen må komme ut av tunnelen.
So, if you have a one-way tunnel in your place, in your city,
så hvis du har en enveistunnel der du bor, I din by, der du bor,
you find out the cars cannot go through opposite way because it's one way.
Så finner du ut at bilene kan ikke komme gjennom motsatt vei, fordi det enveis.
And this is how the magnetic fields are in any shape or form in plasma condition.
Og dette slik de magnetiske feltene I hvilken som helst form I plasmatilstand.
So, what comes out in interaction with the other fields in the environment?
Så det som kommer ut I interaksjon med andre felter eller omgivelsene,
because the universe,
fordi universet,
there is nowhere in the universe that we can find no magnetic field.
Det finnes ikke noe sted I universet der vi ikke kan finne magnetiske felter.
They are there, different strength.
De der I forskjellig styrke.
Different powers that they show themselves.
Forskjellig kraft, slik at de viser dem selv, seg selv.
So, as the magnetic field comes out of this ring,
så de magnetiske feltene kommer ut av denne ringen,
it has to interact with the magnetic field which is going in here.
Så må det interagere eller samhandle med de magnetiske feltene som kommer inn her.
So, it's a one-way system, a tunnel.
Så det et enveissystem, en tunnel.
A car comes out of the tunnel.
En bil kommer ut av tunnelen.
And it has to go in another tunnel.
Og den må gå inn I en annen tunnel.
It has no other choice.
Den har ikke noe annet valg.
Because that's how it's been set.
Fordi det slik det har blitt satt opp.
So, what happens?
Så, hva skjer?
So many fields come in.
Så mange felter kommer inn.
from here to here.
Fra her til her.
And they have two choices.
Og de har to valg.
If this one is in the same direction, so they can go in.
Hvis dette er i den samme retningen, så kan de gå inn.
So, when they go in, whatever comes out of this one,
Så når de kommer inn, hva som kommer ut av denne,
Broke off. Hello?
Oops, yes.
der er Mr. Keshe ut igjen litt.
Rick?
Yes, we seem to have lost the Spaceship Institute again there for a brief time. I'm sure they'll reconnect.
This is thrilling.
Okay, we get to carry on our conversation from before, I guess, Kevin.
No, I just wanted to know your thoughts.
Oops, here he goes again.
We are back?
Yeah, every time Kevin and I try to get a conversation going here, you keep interrupting.
Do you want us to go back and come tomorrow morning and make it talk?
No, that's okay. We'll go off somewhere else.
Yeah, have a nice coffee.
Thank you.
So what happens is that the fields attract each other, and what comes out of one has...
Okay, well, we just go with the flow here, and they might keep fading in and out. We only may get parts of this transmission as it comes out. Yeah, it might be a few minutes here. In the meantime, maybe we can carry on our conversation that we began earlier, or some other one. Okay, you were saying, Kevin, could you explain the situation?
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your guys' conversation there.
Thank you. We're having a heck of a time getting your point across here.
Yeah. Have to apologize for all the technical delays.
Okay, so let's try it again. And Kevin, your question or situation that you're laying out there, maybe you can put it in an even more simple way so that the children can all understand as well as the children and us. Can you lay it out once again there while we have this interlude here?
This line of thought I had is that when Mr. Keshe said all is interconnected, it made totally logical sense because for a lot of people it's there's a lot of people that still don't take it as granted that we're not the only creations of the universe. And I think people are having a really hard time grasping the idea that we are not alone in this universe or in any other universe. And it makes sense, when Mr. Keshe said, it's time, the time is over for all and any kind of religion, for any kind of dogma. And I think it's really about peace and abundance. And these were like the thoughts that somehow accompanied me the last few days. It's like in plain sight everything, but it's I'm just thinking, why is it so hard to accepting, the very core of our existence, the scientific core of our existence. So I thought maybe you might have some thoughts on that, When Mr. Keshe repeats and repeats over and over again that everything is plasma. This is the reason why why it's, I think, a really good idea to start with kids, because these are the only ones who are still open-minded with their creative thinking and consciousness. And understanding that everything is made of fields, of, let's just call them, for the sake of easiness, just magnetic fields. Is that the very essence that, kids can understand, that magnetic fields that are all interconnected?
Ja, det Kevan som kommer med noen betraktninger om de magnetiske feltene, og det at Mr. Keshe sier at alt i hele universet, i alle universene, også vi, bare består av magnetiske felter, og han lurer på om det noe vi barn kan forstå.
Well, I think it was in the previous workshop that Mr. Keshe showed the little connect doll, is that what it's called, with the various joints that move and so on, and each joint, and even in between the joints, there's these little balls that connect everything together. And he was giving the analogy that these balls were like the plasma fields that were atoms essentially, but they were the fields that were inside these round ball-shaped sort of atoms that were attracted to each other and so on. And that seemed like a good way to explain it. I think if I was a kid and had one of those dolls, I would go, oh yeah, that makes sense. Everything's connected, the same as these are connected, except they're little tiny wee ones instead of these big ones, So I definitely could identify
Can you hear
with
us?
that. Yes. Hear you,
Yes.
Mr. Keshe.
Oh, we muted everything and we muted ourselves.
Yeah, but
So
now we are back on this.
just give us a few seconds. You see, you got to realize, as long as we are on, I can explain.
Ja, det Mr. Keshe som bare forklarer at så lenge de på, så kan han forklare, og når de ikke på, så blir det litt vanskelig.
And when we fall out, we go back on it later on. Is that children have totally different view about the creation.
Det Mr. Keshe sier at de kan alltid komme tilbake til når de faller ut, når de kommer tilbake igjen. Det han også sier at barn har en helt annen forståelse av skapelsen enn det vi voksne har, da, fordi vi har blitt fortalt så mye forskjellig. Og barn undrer seg gjerne litt mer direkte hva som egentlig skjer, I stedet for at vi som tror på alt vi har blitt fortalt opp gjennom tiden, har forskjellige meninger om ting. Gjennom ting vi har blitt fortalt, og ikke gjennom det vi ser og forstår av oss selv.
And the created. And the fields. So for us to be able to reach children to understand.
så forklarer han det at for at vi skal ha muligheten til å nå ut til barna for å forstå,
is to try to see and understand
å forsøke å se og forstå
in what language we speak to them.
På hvilket språk vi snakker til de.
And that's why I try to use toys and different things that children with it, they find association.
Og det derfor jeg bruker leker og forskjellige ting, sånn at de kan få en annen, hva skal jeg kalle det?
Noe de kan bruke som en sammenligning.
Ja, det er godt. Takk skal du ha, Eva.
It's very much like the video you showed last week.
Det er veldig likt den videoen du viste forrige uke.
It reaches children in a very, very easy way.
Den når barn på en veldig, veldig enkel måte. Også litt større barn.
And in fact, there should be no difference for a child.
Og faktisk så skulle det ikke være noen forskjell for et barn
between a plasma of whatever we call plasma
mellom en plasma av hva vi nå måtte kalle en plasma.
An orange.
En appelsin.
Or that's why I brought an orange, you were looking at it earlier on.
Eller, det var derfor jeg brakte en appelsin. Vi kommer til å se på den, man sier tidligere, men senere betyr det, i dette tilfellet.
Then we see that.
Ja.
Jeg tenker det er egentlig en bra sted å slutte, så vi får med oss hele appelsinen neste gang.
Ja, jeg tenker det. Klokka er 8:05, så...
For det vil være synd å kotte appelsinen over på midten.
Ja, det vil jo det. Det blir jo bare en halv plasma, eller kanskje det blir til 2 plasma. Ja.
Separate matter.
Så tenker jeg det at vi kommer ikke så langt i barneundervisningen i dag, men det er jo en del forståelse å hente likevel, tenker jeg. Så det er noen som har noe å si, noe å spørre om, noe betraktning av det vi har gått gjennom. Så vær så god.
They are mesmerized.
Ja. Neida. I plasmaverden så tvinger vi ikke. Vi bare tillater. Så, da vil jeg bare avslutte med å si tusen hjertelig takk for at dere kom denne onsdagen til Keshe Foundations norske offentlige undervisning. Fra Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute. Den 1. mars 2017. Og vi har gått gjennom nyheter fra den engelske public workshop fra forrige torsdag. og kommet litt inn i barneworkshopen nummer 3 fra oktober den 22. 2014. Ja. Host og budbringer har vært Willy Østli, og co-host og budbringer Eva Krarup. Tusen hjertelig takk for at dere ville være med, og tusen hjertelig takk for hjelpa, Eva.
Ja, selv takk.
Så...